Hi, this is Josh Janjacek, coach at Team JAC and JAC Aesthetic Consulting. In the kitchen today, we're going to talk about how to accurately track your macronutrients, or macros, as you've probably heard them referred to. So today I'm going to make a very simple meal, just a few ingredients, and go through the process of how I would weigh everything out and track my macros for that meal. Okay, so basically I'm going to be making chili and just put it over some brown rice and then probably throw some cheese on top, or if I can find anything else. But so the first step is going to be measuring out the rice. And one thing with rice that is important to remember is that, and this goes for any food, the nutrition facts that are listed are always going to be for the raw or uncooked weight of the food. So, I mean, after the rice is cooked, it's going to be way different from what it weighed before, just because of the water. So that's one thing that's always important to note. So you should always weigh it out in the raw uncooked weight. So I'm going to have 3 servings of this, so that'll come out to 129 grams of rice. So also you'll see on here how the serving size says half cup, and really I recommend not weighing anything out in cups, half cups, anything like that, because it's not going to be as accurate as weighing out to the gram, and it's going to be a lot easier to just, as you'll see here in a second, put my rice cooking bowl on the scale, turn it on, and just pour it till I hit the amount of grams. So it takes out kind of a step of having to pour into a food cup to measure. So rice cooker's on the scale, I turn it on here, it's already set to grams, it's zeroed out because I was on there before I turned it on. And then we're just going to pour until we reach 129 grams of rice. $128, close enough. Alright, so the next item I'm going to be weighing out here is the chili. And I'm pretty lazy, I just buy the canned turkey chili because it's convenient and it's great macros on these. So for this, pop the tab here. So the easiest way to do something like this when you're going out of the can, so what I would do is just put it on the food scale again, turn it on, zero it out, and then just pour into whatever bowl or take out however much you're going to. So I'm going to have the whole thing. One thing to be aware of here is make sure if your food scale turns off automatically, make sure you keep hitting it or something to keep it on if you're going to take a while to get everything out. Alright, and then we'll just put the empty container back on, and you see it's about 400 grams that was out of there. So one thing I do want to note on also with this is it says serving size is 236 grams and that there's 2 servings per container. So that would come out to, 472 grams is what should be in here, and you saw I only got 400 grams out of the whole can. So don't go assuming that just because it says 2 grams or about 2 servings or about 2 servings that's what's in there. Take the time, throw it on there, weigh it out. That way you're accurate with your macros. Alright, so the next step after weighing everything out is going to be logging, or actually tracking the macros for the ingredients we're using. So most people who use MyFitnessPal or a similar app to track their macros, you can get that on your phone, pull it up online. It's just an easy way. You just type in the food, it'll bring it up and list out the macros per serving. So for beginners, I kind of recommend using that. If you've never tracked before, it makes it easy. For me, I've been tracking every day now for almost 2 years, I would say. So I pretty much know most of the foods I eat. I eat most of the same foods, on a weekly basis. So easier for me to just write down. Here we have a dry erase board. Usually I just use pen and paper. As you can see, my totals I usually write at the top. I've had a couple meals already. I tracked on the paper like I usually do. So we started with 200 protein a day, 800 carb, 55 fat. You might think those totals are a little crazy, which they kind of are. Today's my high carb day, so my regular days I'm more around 500 carb, 230 protein, and right now about 84 fat. So today, on high days, I like to bump up the carbs substantially, but lower the fat and protein just a little bit to kind of make up for the calorie difference. So I'll get more into high carb days and their importance probably in another video. But for this video, I just want to stick to basically the process of actually tracking your macros. So after my 2 meals, I was left with 95 protein, 563 carb, and 52 fat. So the first thing we will log is going to be the rice. So for that, per serving we have 1.5 fat, 34 carb, and 3 protein. And remember, I had 3 servings. So for the protein, we're looking at 9 grams of protein. So we'll just subtract that off of our total for the day. For the carbs, there was 34 per serving, so we're looking at 102 carb for 3 servings. And then the fat comes out to 4.5 for 3 servings. So we're looking at 47.5. So for me, this is the easiest and most convenient way to do it. It takes a few seconds, just basic math, subtract it off. If you're doing it on an app like MyFitnessPal, you would just either search the food or you can actually scan the barcode. If you have it on your phone, it'll pull up the food from the database, put in the number of servings, and then you just log it and it does all this for you. But like I said, for me this is the easier, more convenient way to go. So next we're going to log the chili, and if you remember, the chili actually didn't have as much in it as the can said it would. So in a case like that, we're going to go back to good old high school days and use some basic cross multiply divide stuff. So that's why they taught us this, so we could actually track our macros accurately. But anyways, more serious note. So it said there was going to be 472 grams per can of chili. Remember, it came out to 395. So for that, I'll just go on my calculator here on my phone, put in 395, what we actually had, divided by 472, what they said they'd have, comes out to 0.84. So that's what we're going to use, and we're going to multiply by each macro that we're going to figure out. So for the fat, it said it would have 6 grams of fat per, so we'll take 0.84 times it by 6. Comes out to just over 5, so we'll log it as 5 grams of fat. For the carbs, it said there'd be 32, so we'll do 0.84 times 32. Comes out to just under 27, so we'll take 27. And then the protein said 46 per can. We'll take again 0.84 times the 46. Comes out to about 38.5. I'll round up to 39. Some people will track to like the decimal place when it comes to protein, carbs, and fat. Usually for me, when I'm going through my day, if it's right in the middle, you know, like in this case, 38.5. One time I'll go above, the next time I'll go lower. So I mean, it's not gonna be a huge deal if you're 1 or 2 off your protein goal for the day or something like that. During prep, maybe in the later stages, I might get a little more anal about it and actually track out to the decimal place, but that's about it. So as you can see here, after logging that, I got 47 protein, 434 carb, and 42.5 fat left for the day. So after everything's cooked up and I throw the cheese on, I'll show you the process of that. Okay, in the meantime, while things are cooking up, I'm going to touch on a few pointers that I kind of wish someone would have let me know about when I very first started tracking macros. The first is going to be the whole cross-multiplying to figure out what the actual macros are. Like in a case like with a can when it's short of the macros or something like that, that's one way you can use it. The other way I kind of like to use it is when you're going to cook something in bulk. So usually for chicken, I cook that in bulk. For that, I've done it so many times, I already know what the macros are for the cooked weight. And usually you can find macros listed for actual cooked weights out there, but it's not going to be necessarily accurate depending on how you cook it, how long you cook it, just depending on how much of the water and stuff is cooked out of it. So if I'm cooking something like a pound of beef or something like that, what I'll do is put the beef on the food scale, weigh it out, see how many grams I have to begin with. I'll cook it up however I like, and then I will after cooking, I'll throw it back on the food scale, measure the grams, and then again you'll go through your process of cross multiplying, and then you'll figure out actually what the real macros are for the cooked weight. So something 4 ounces raw is going to be totally different after you cook it. It'll be more 2.5, 3 ounces. So that's totally going to change the macros if you were to do it like that. At the end of the day, if you're going to be consistent about it and still log it as 3 ounces cooked with the raw weight, you'd still really be alright just because of the consistency. But if you want to be as accurate as possible, optimize results, you want to be as accurate as possible with your macros. So that's one tip and one thing I've kind of picked up on during my time of tracking macros. The other is going to be measuring liquids, primarily milk, juices, and stuff. Instead of like I said before, using a cup, which isn't always going to be accurate, and it's going to kind of be an extra necessary step and just more dishes to clean up at the end of the day. What I'll have on there is obviously a cup is equivalent to 240 milliliters. So milliliters measures out almost identical to grams. So 240 milliliters of milk is pretty much the equivalent of 240 grams of milk. So instead of pouring in a measuring cup, pour it in your glass, set your glass on the food scale, pour until you hit 240, 480, however much you're going to have of given liquid, and then that'll save you a lot of time and be a lot more accurate than trying to measure out with a food cup and get it into the brim. So those are a few tips that I've picked up on during my time of tracking macros. Okay, we're here for the last step now. I got my rice down in the bowl, poured the chili on top. So the last thing I'm going to do is just throw on 2 servings of this Velveeta Shreds cheese, which if you're looking for a shredded cheese with pretty good macros, I highly recommend this. So for this step, the same as before pretty much, we're just going to have the bowl already on the food scale. So it's going to be zeroed out in grams. For this 2 servings is going to be 56 grams. So we're just going to start adding cheese till we get to 56 grams. And there you go. 56. So then we'll go over to the board again here and log this. So for this, 2 servings would be 10 grams of protein. It's going to be 6 grams of carbs and 6 grams of fat also. So then you have your remaining macro totals for the day. So really there's not a whole lot to it, tracking macros. If you've never done it before, you might think, oh, it's not going to be easy, it's going to be time consuming. Really, you saw the steps here. It takes a matter of a few seconds, throw it on a food scale, either write it down, log it on MyFitnessPal. So tracking macros, if you're really serious about losing weight, gaining muscle, you need to know that you're either, eating enough food to sustain new muscle growth, or eating more or less calories, than you're burning off in a day to lose fat. So this video is really for new clients who come to me who have never tracked macros before, or just any of my friends or anyone really who is wanting to take things to the next level as far as nutrition goes and wants to really make some good improvements in their physique, so whether it be fat loss or muscle gain. So like I said, not hard to do, takes a few seconds out of your day. If you're really serious and committed, start tracking your macros. Until next time, keep on admiring.